Join me now for more on the president's upcoming jobs proposal and what Congress has on its agenda to resuscitate a stagnant economy is Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, member of the Small Business Committee, the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. Senator, great to have you with us. And let's begin with the rather strong words emanating from at least surrogates and in one instance the vice president, attacking conservatives and the Tea Party. What's your reaction?
Well, you know, it kind of looks like the age of civility is not going to be so civil, you know, where I'm sitting. So, you know, I've been called a terrorist. Now I'm being called a name we have to bleep out on Fox Business News. So, you know, I think really what it shows is a failed presidency when you've got to blame other people. Unemployment's up, gas prices have doubled. He is set to add more debt than all 43 previous presidents combined, and he doesn't know how to create jobs because he's never participated in the private sector. So what does he do? They call people names. But I don't think it's going to work for him.
Not going to work for him, and the fact of the matter is, this talk begins to sound increasingly desperate. As we look at these polls, the two new Fox polls I reported on at the outset of the broadcast, across the board, these are horrific record lows at a time when this president is in desperate need of something in the way of elevation for his administration. It's just not anywhere near your thoughts.
Well, you know, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You know, who did he just appoint to be head of his Council of Economic Advisors? The guy that was the architect for cash for clunkers. Now, that really doesn't strike me as the...
Professor Alan Kruger of Princeton, if there's any doubt about who you're referring to.
Yeah, it doesn't really strike me as someone who's learning his lesson. You know, does he think cash for clunkers was a big success, or that $1 trillion stimulus plan that created some jobs at the cost of over $400,000 per job? If he thinks those ideas are working, really he's flat out wrong. I mean, unemployment is higher. We're really struggling as a country. But, you know, at the same time, did you read about what they did to Gibson guitars just down the road from me, about 60 miles away from me in Nashville? They're trying to shut down Gibson guitars, but you know what they told them? They said, if you'll make the guitars in Madagascar, we won't shut you down. But if you're going to import the wood, we're saying that the wood's gotten here illegally. We don't care if you do it in Madagascar and then sell the guitars over here.
Let me explain just a bit, if I may, Senator, what you're referring to. And this is with Gibson guitars, the most famous maker of U.S. maker of guitars, importing wood from India. The complaint being on the part of the Indian government that Gibson was bringing in wood that had not been processed or had value added to it in any way in India, but that it was occurring solely here, the manufacturing process. And the Obama administration descending on Gibson guitars to enforce Indian law, but strangely in the minds of many, not willing to enforce U.S. law. An extraordinary development.
And here's the thing. The president wonders why people perceive him as anti-business. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife descended with what the report I read said dozens of agents with semi-automatic weapons descended on. These are experts in woodworking, in guitar making. They're craftsmen. They descended on them with semi-automatic weapons to shut them down because they were such a threat to our country. But when a government has that kind of animus towards business, can you wonder why everybody in the business community thinks this president's the most anti-business president we've ever had?
You know, Senator, indeed he may be anti-business, but this government has become anti-reason and logic and common sense. And it has become, the federal government in its best days under terrific leadership is not exactly a natural home for reason and common sense. But it has, in the last number of years, become completely anti-business, it seems to many, including me, in its policies. And yet this president will move forward Thursday night, a joint session of Congress. By the way, will you be there, Senator?
Probably so, you know, but I become more horrified on a day-to-day basis. I've been looking into a lot of the abuses of the EPA on wetlands. There's a woman from Mississippi who was put in jail for 10 years for putting dirt on her land. Her dad's still in prison. He's 70. Her dad's partner's 80. They were given 10-year sentences for moving dirt on a commercial development for low-income housing. See, this is the kind of thing where government is out of control, going after innocent citizens, and if this is allowed to continue, I fear for the future.
Fearing for our future, fearing also for the fate of those two people. What is their status right now?
Well, the young woman has 3 young kids. She's never had a traffic ticket or been arrested for anything. She served 26 months, and the prosecutor finally was so upset, wasn't sleeping well at night, the prosecutor helped get her out early. Her father's 70 and her father's partner's 80 are still in prison, and for moving dirt, their crime. And they said it was a wetlands, but get this, there's no stream on the property, there's no lake, there's no pond, there's no running water, and they call it a wetlands because we have an EPA that's run amok, and this is going on across America. There's a couple in Idaho that their case is going before the Supreme Court, the Sackett family, and that's going to go before the Supreme Court. We have to do something to control these monstrous bureaucracies because I don't even
Senator,
get to vote on their policies.
We're way over time, but I've got to say, we'll follow up with your office. We're going to follow up on this story. We will have more right here on this broadcast tomorrow evening. We thank you for being with us, Senator, and thank you for championing the cause of those folks. This one needs to be resolved in the right and soon. Senator Rand Paul, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Up next.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.